Hi, I'm Aaron from TriFit, kinesiologist, and I'm doing a home cooking video today, and I am making one of my favorite foods ever, which is pad thai. Now, I'm making a vegetarian version, so we're using tofu, but you can also use chicken very easily for this. Just make sure it's fully cooked before we get to the last step. But this is super easy to make, and let's get into it. So you're gonna need a few tools before you get into making the recipe today. Firstly, you're gonna need a wok. Once again, always useful. A secondary frying pan, so this will be for the tofu, but I like to use cast iron. If you have that, go to town. As well, a pot for water in it for when we go to cook the noodles a little bit later. And you're also gonna need a sharp chef's knife, a cutting board, which I already have placed down here, some tongs, and a wooden spoon for when you're tossing everything together. And then finally, you're also going to want to have a julienne of some sort. It's going to save you a bunch of time when it comes to spiralizing carrots or whatever veggies we're using. Makes them look really pretty. So I'll be using this one. If you have one, great. Otherwise, just cut everything really tiny or to the size you prefer. But without further ado, let's get into the actual ingredients. So for food ingredients, we are going to need a red pepper, zucchini, a carrot, a yellow onion, green onion, and I actually grew this myself inside my apartment from an other green onion that I had used in a meal. So cool, they grow so fast. So this is as fresh as you could get. I literally cut it 5 seconds ago. Eggs, vegetable broth, brown sugar, white vinegar, soy sauce, chili paste. Now, the recipe calls for fish sauce. I wasn't actually able to get that, so you can actually use Worcestershire sauce instead. It's a vegan substitute that you could use, so go with that. Rice noodles, pretty well any kind that works for you. I like the thinner ones and the big thick ones, but whatever works. Just something that's going to cook really nice and quickly inside the pot. And the final ingredient is tofu. Now, I already prepped some tofu because you want to make sure you get all the water out of it. And we're using an extra firm version. So I already went and pressed the tofu for about a half hour before we started this video. Essentially, I just put it between 2 paper towels, put it between 2 cutting boards, and then put something heavy on top just to squeeze out all the water that's inside of it. So keep that in mind that if you do want to use tofu for this, give it a press because then it's going to cook much faster for the rest of the meal. So the first thing you want to do today is actually get a pot of water boiling. So get that started early so that it is out of the way, and when we do actually need hot water, it's ready to go. So just do that off the bat. If it starts to boil, just turn it off, and we can turn it on back again when we need it, and it's gonna boil that much faster after that. So take the time, just get the water boiling now. Once it starts to boil, turn it off, then we'll turn it back on when we need it. Getting a step out of the way quickly, take 2 eggs and scramble them in a bowl. So just take them, break them open, and scramble them in a bowl. Now, the next thing you want to do is start working on the tofu, because it's going to take a little bit longer to prep, and you can do other things while the tofu is in the pan frying. So take a second once you feel it's pressed enough to go and cut the tofu into little cubes. So I cut it this way, and this way. So I don't know if you can see, but as you can see, you cut the tofu into nice little cubes in every direction, just so that it's ready to go. And this is pressed, so it has way less liquid in it already. So let's get to frying that tofu. You can probably hear it cooking already, and essentially that's going to fry. And once it gets nice brown on one side, you're gonna flip it over onto the other side and brown on that side. You can do all sides if you want, but it's just gonna take a little bit longer. And they're also gonna cook more when they get into the actual dish. So I usually just do 2 sides, about 2, 3, maybe 5 minutes per side, depending on how wet your tofu is. So we're gonna let that happen, but while that's happening, I'm gonna be prepping the vegetables. So we're gonna do a little bit of kitchen magic, and I will see you in a minute. So I just flipped the tofu for the first time. We're about 2 minutes in, 3 minutes into cooking. I've gotten the zucchini spiralized, the peppers cut, and the onions ready. Just gotta get the carrots ready to go. Trying to get as much done and multitask as possible, right? Because the tofu's gonna take a little bit, do all this other stuff while it's happening. Tofu's gonna be fine, it doesn't burn too quickly, just check on it about every minute, and you should be good. Look at this thing. You just twist it. I don't know if you can hear it. You just twist it, and it just pumps out julienne carrot. Isn't that cool? You just twist it, and it gives me julienne carrot. Isn't that awesome? I just love it. I think it's so cool. It also makes like the best sound when you're doing it. Maybe I'll make an ASMR video next time. Cooking ASMR. This could be fun. Who knows? Now the first batch of tofu's done, and as you can see, I haven't cooked it all the way through, but I've just cooked it nice and golden brown on either side. So you still got some squish in the middle, like you know how the restaurants do it, so it's all good. So that's really good. That's the first batch, so it took about 7 minutes, and let's get the second batch going. So just about maximizing that time as efficiently as possible, and you can do another task while you're waiting on that. The best part about julienning is that you can eat the leftover carrot. Now as you can see, I have all the veggies done. So I got the red peppers, the onions are buried underneath there. We got our spiralized carrots, our spiralized zucchini, everything's looking ready to go. This is all gonna go in the pan in just a moment once we have the tofu ready to go. And once we get to that point, everything starts happening really quickly. So make sure you got everything done before you start heating up that wok and going, like the tofu, getting the sauce ready. And speaking of, we're gonna get the sauce together right now. So for the sauce, you're gonna want 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire, or fish sauce, whatever works for you. They should put a better pouring spout on these. 3 tablespoons of vegetable broth. If you're using chicken, feel free to use chicken broth. 2, 3. 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. 1, 2, and 3. 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, nice and easy. 1, 2. Always keep checking on that tofu. 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. Boom. I just put a little extra soy sauce because I like it. And the last thing is just 1 teaspoon of chili paste. Now this stuff has quite a kick to it, so if you're not a spicy food person, be very careful how much you put in, or if you are a spicy food person, feel free to put in a little bit extra, but recipe says 1 teaspoon, so I'm going to be sticking to that for today. So give that all a good stir, make sure it all gets together, particularly the sugar is going to take a little bit longer to dissolve in, so just give that a good stir. Your tofu should be almost done. You can hear it still cooking in the background. I had just a couple pieces that weren't quite ready yet, so they're just finishing up, and then we are ready for the lightning fast, throw it all together in a stir-fried pan round, and we should be eating within like 8 minutes. It's gonna be great, let's see. Okay, so the tofu is done, everything is prepped and ready to go. So get some oil in the wok and get that heating up. Usually you're gonna go for very high heat, so I'm using canola oil just so that it doesn't burn as easily. So you want a high heat oil. Sunflower oil I think also works well, but you probably want to stay away from things like olive oil that has a much lower burn point because you'll have it smoking up really quickly. As well, get that pot of water back on because we're going to be adding the noodles to it right before we can put everything finally together. So get that water back on, we got our wok warming up, and we are going to get cooking. So this is really easy. Just take all the veggies, throw them in the wok. Couldn't get any easier than that. The upside of julienning and cutting everything really tiny is that they're actually just going to be cooked really quickly, and that's why we can work so quickly. So that's why you want to get everything julienned and prepped ahead of time, because when we get to the cooking phase, this is going to cook really fast. So same with the noodles, same with this. You can probably hear them starting to warm up right now, and we are starting to make magic happen. Yes! Okay, so the water is boiling, so take your noodles and drop them in straight into the water. Should literally take about 1 or 2 minutes for them to cook fully. So keep an eye on them, and we're going to transfer them into the bowl as soon as they're done. And you can see the noodles have literally been in there for 45 seconds, and they're already getting really soft. So keep that in mind. It's not going to be too long before you're adding them in with the veggies. While you're waiting on the noodles, take a second to put some stuff away. You need to clean your kitchen, so just do it, okay? The noodles are looking pretty cooked, so I literally just take them out, drop them straight into our wok with everything else, to try and fish out any extra noodles that you may have hiding inside the pot. Easy as ever. Now, you don't want to get rid of the pot water right away. You want to take and add a little bit of that water directly to your wok. Just adding a little bit of flavor, and it helps spread out the sauce. So take a second, just get everything mixed together before you add the final sauce to it and the tofu. So we're just going to get these noodles mixed in with everything else nice and easy. I don't know if you can hear that, but someone keeps thumping above us upstairs. It's fine. The life of living in an apartment, right? You're gonna add your sauce in, nice and easy, and you're gonna start tossing that together really quickly. It's gonna mix really well with the water in the pan already to get everything nice and sauced up. And this is also a good opportunity time to add the tofu. Nice and easy. And it should have a nice little crunch to it, so it's not going to get too waterlogged because it's already been cooked. So just get that mixed in there. It's going to start taking on some of the flavors as well from the tofu, or sorry, from the sauce as we do this. We are so close to being done this meal. I would give that about 1 minute just to cook off some of the water. So that liquid is pretty well cooked off. It should really be smelling like pad thai at this moment in time. And the last thing you're gonna add is just that egg, which is gonna scramble really nicely inside the dish once we are done cooking. So you're just gonna keep it moving around just so that it doesn't clump up. I keep hearing this banging noise, and I really don't know where it's coming from. It seems to be coming from upstairs, but it keeps catching me off guard. So don't mind me. I'm just reacting to things that are happening in my apartment. Welcome to living in Aaron's apartment. And we are done making pad thai. Super easy. As you can see, it's all mixed together in the pan. Smells absolutely amazing. And you can dole this out. The only thing that you want to do on the end when you're plating it is add that green onion on top as a little garnish and some crushed up peanuts if you aren't allergic to them. So just crush them up in a bag. If you get a can of roasted peanuts, crush them up in a bag and then just sprinkle them on top. Absolutely amazing meal. But thank you so much for joining me for this cooking video today. I hope you super enjoyed it. And yeah, I will see you next time.